Be curious rather than judgmental. That is something that I've lived by for a long time. Because it's very easy for us to be judgmental. We all judge. Everything that we come into contact with, we judge based off of where we are. We are the center of our own, little universes. So to give an example, when you think about, let's say, politics, what is conservative and what is liberal? What is ultra conservative and what is ultra liberal? Well, that depends on where you stand. What a person says is liberal, you may say is ultra liberal because you are more conservative. So we judge things, and our perceptions of things are based on where we stand, physically, mentally, emotionally, in terms of our development and growth. We judge things. But what happens when we judge things, we don't move. We stay exactly where we are because we're judging everything based on where we're standing. So we don't move. There's no movement. There's no movement because there's no growth. And there's no growth because there's no curiosity. And it's interesting because when we were children, we were very curious. We were always curious. We always wanted to know. We had so many questions. We were not judgmental at all because we weren't standing anywhere. We were kind of just floating around as we learned, as we experienced the world and people and all of the structures that are created and that we're taught as children. So we were just curious. We were always asking questions. What's this? What's that? How does this work? How does that work? To the point where our parents and teachers got tired of answering those questions. To the point where we learned how to look up those answers for ourselves. So now we're still searching for answers. We're searching for them in ways that we have learned how to search for them. But somewhere along the way, we stopped asking the questions. We stopped being curious. We figured that we had learned enough. We knew enough. We no longer had to be so curious. Like I could just go through my day now without asking, what is this? What is that? Because the thing about it is that when you're asking questions, when you're curious, it stops you from moving throughout your day. You're always distracted by the questions. They are a distraction. But you stop growing. So people, a lot of times they get in their 20s, 30s, and they stop growing. They are in their 70s who they were in their 30s. In some ways, they just never stopped, or they stopped growing because they were no longer curious. And most people are not curious. Most people, after they get out of college, they no longer read. They don't engage themselves in deep discussions with others. They don't allow people in their circles who have different ideas and points of view. When they're on Facebook, they tend to cut people off who don't share the ideas that they have. They don't even like the way they feel because of the cognitive dissonance that comes with hearing an opposing view. They go to all of the place where they are comfortable. They've asked a whole lot of questions. They've gotten the answers. They're comfortable with those answers, and they're going to protect those answers because those answers, or from those answers comes the way that they live their lives, the way that they make their decisions. So they're going to protect what they know. So curiosity is no longer necessary. But again, there's no growth because they're standing there. Now, when you're curious, when instead of saying, "Oh no, I don't like that. That's crazy. That's insane," or when they stop doing that and they start saying, tell me more about that. That's different. How do you think that way? How did you arrive at that conclusion? And when they really sit back and listen to someone else, it doesn't mean that they're going to accept that person's truth. But what it can mean is that they move a little in any direction. And that movement is what creates growth. I say all this to say that you rob yourself of knowing yourself when you cut off a person, or you distance yourself from a person, or you don't allow yourself to experience a person as they truly are, their whole selves. When a person is being authentic, because the whole purpose of being here is to know yourself, and the only way to really know yourself is to experience yourself through experiences with other people. When a person is closed off to you, when a person is not sharing their full authentic self, and this is why sometimes I find myself very drained when it comes to dealing with people, because I know that most people don't display their true authentic selves. They don't give that because they're afraid of being judged. If it was the norm for people to be curious, then they would freely share their true, full, authentic selves. But of course, they don't do that. We are very judgy by nature, judgmental by nature. But when we experience someone in their true, authentic form, it exposes us to a part of ourselves that we may or may not have ever been introduced to before. It has always been there, but we've never had to see it. And there's so much about us that we don't know. There's so much, downloaded into us from our parents, from our experiences in life, from things that we've seen, things that we've heard. There's so much of us that we don't know. When people ask me about marriage, a lot of times, because married people are always in trouble. Relationship is always on the brink. So when they ask me, what is the difference between being in a relationship and being married? You love being around that person. What's the difference? Well, the difference is that before you get married, you may have an idea of what you would be like as a husband or wife. You may have a belief of what you would be like as a husband or a wife, but you do not know who you would be as a husband or a wife until you become a husband or a wife. Just like you will not know who you are as a parent until you become a parent. You never know until you become. Until you actually experience it. So a person comes along and they have these completely different views of way of living their life. And you have a choice. You can instantly dismiss that person and say, oh my gosh, they're weird. Not dealing with that. Too much for me. Or you can say, tell me more about that. Doesn't mean I'm going to become you, but I get to know more of me through you. You don't know what makes you mad until somebody pisses you off. When someone says something or does something to upset you, you don't really know what makes you happy until someone does something that really makes you feel good. And it's in those moments that you get to learn more about yourself, because you can say, okay, this really pissed me off. What was it about this that pissed me off? What trigger was touched on here? And where did that come from? What is it about me? What is it in my past that caused me to have this sore spot? But you would have never had that if that person was always tiptoeing around you and being what you needed them to be in order for you to be happy. You got to be willing to let some people piss you off. You got to be willing to let some people make you uncomfortable so that you can get to know who you are. This is always a practice of you getting to know yourself. People are mirrors. Every time you pass somebody and you don't say hi, you miss out on a whole experience of yourself. Every time. And you don't even really have to get to know people in order to know a little bit about yourself. You can walk into a room and you can feel so shy that you don't talk to one person in the whole room. That just exposed you to a part of yourself. Why? Why are you robbing yourself of the ability to experience more of yourself through other people? Because everybody that you meet is a mirror. People are walking mirrors. You are a walking mirror. When you choose to be inauthentic, when you choose to put a mask on and hide who you are robbing other people of the chance and the ability to experience more of themselves through you. And this is why I don't care about people judging me. I invite you to judge me just as much as I invite you to be curious about me. Because when you judge me, you have to ask yourself, why am I judging this person for this? What is it about me that makes me or puts me in the position of judging this person about that? That's going to tell you more about yourself. And I want you to be curious as well, because I'm going to be authentic for me and I'm going to be authentic for you. I'm going to be authentic because I believe in living my truest, highest self. I don't believe in going against myself. I believe that going against self is an act of violence against self. And I know that when you go against your truest, highest self for whatever reason, your truest, highest self will self-sabotage. It will sabotage whatever structure, whatever form of thought, whatever you put it into that does not serve you. So I believe in living my truest, highest, authentic self for me and for everybody else, so that others can experience themselves through their interactions with me. If I upset you, okay. If I made you feel amazing, fine. Great. If I confused you, beautiful. If I taught you something. All of these things, because just being who I am is going to do, it's as great of a person as I may think that I am, just being these things is going to be enough to cause that in anybody, in any particular person. As nice as I am or can be, those same actions that I consider nice can be the very same things that frustrates another person. That person has to find out within themselves why this is frustrating them. And that is the purpose of being authentic. It's so that we can all discover ourselves in each other. Getting to know each other, it should be two-sided. It should be two ways. It should be both people getting to know each other through each other. But oftentimes what happens is it's one person getting to know themselves through the other person. And the relationship doesn't last because that person feels left out. You get to share, but I don't get to share. Because I know that if I share, you'll judge me. Nobody likes to feel judged. Everybody wants to be understood in some way. Be authentic. For everybody else and for yourself.